in slow motion that is terrifying. You know, the reason we have a great country is because there are pillars in place. There are columns and structures, just like in your house, columns and pillars that you don't see, but they keep things in a good place. They keep things in a good direction. We have healthy children because there are people.
Well, America, I hope you like measles. Thanks to all of you. This just in, President-elect Donald Trump has just announced a new name to be added to his incoming administration.
You're exactly right? He's just flooding the zone with shit to hope to get maybe other appointees down the line, because they got to absorb these bunch of idiots, right, that are coming out right now.
Oh, my God. I mean, those of us who have spent our, lifetime, kind of decades working in and around in HHS, I'm not kidding, Nicole, my texts are flying off the chain, both Democrats and Republicans saying, this can't be real. Someone must have gotten this wrong. This can't be possible. And now the second underlying chain, there's some silver linings. The second thought I had is he can't get confirmed, can he? But
I don't know what you want me to say. I am just at a loss because we're watching something happen in slow motion that is terrifying. You know, the reason we have a great country is because there are pillars in place. There are columns and structures, just like in your house, columns and pillars that you don't see, but they keep things in a good place. They keep things in a good direction. We have healthy children because there are people who've made sure that there are things in place for that. And right now we're seeing termites unleashed on everything. And this is a termite appointment. We know for sure that Bobby Kennedy is a vaccine denier. He's a vaccine denier. He's not being a denier.
Oh my God! The absolute triumph and takeover of the Republican Party by MAGA, and it will be the takeover of the U.S. government by MAGA if the Senate lets all of these people go through.
They've lost, gang. They've lost. You can see it in their faces. This is the meltdown, the collective hysterical meltdown of an elite establishment watching their entire world burn to the ground. I'm going to show you precisely what's behind these meltdowns, why the Democrats have literally lost everything,
and they're going to keep
why
losing.
A new MAGA revolution is just beginning. Europe could absolutely love this. Greetings, everyone. It is Livestream Friday, a very special Livestream Friday. I am your host, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, no longer here to help you stay sane in these insane times. That's not my tagline anymore. And that's because you, the patriots of this nation, on November 5th, rose up in defiance of tyranny, and you took our nation back. And that is why I'm forever, ever grateful to each and every one of you. If you're brand new to this channel, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You're not going to want to miss a single video of our analyzing and celebrating the rise of a new conservative age, a new civilizationalist, populist world that's rising both here and abroad. As always, we've got a jam-packed show for you today. We're live on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, you name it. Just a quick reminder, if you want to ask me questions during our live stream here, because YouTube has suspended our super chats, they've completely demonetized us. Maybe that'll get resolved now that Elon Musk might want to have a little chat with them on it. But regardless, just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any one of our levels of support, and you have instant access to our very own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them on this live stream. So just click on that link below or go to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any level of support that you like, and you can ask me all your questions that you want. It'll be my honor to answer them right here on this live stream. One of my all-time favorite Winston Churchill quotes is, "There is nothing more exhilarating in life than to be fired upon without effect." There is nothing more exhilarating in life than to be fired upon without effect. And that's what it felt like last night. I mean, judging by the scenes from the America First Institute celebration at Mar-a-Lago, you may have seen scenes of this on X. But one of the speakers was Elon Musk. And what he said there is that what we're going to see over the next 4 years is not politics as usual. What we're going to see is a revolution. This is not politics as usual. This is a revolution. This is the very revolution that we've all longed for over these last 4 years. And indeed, it's the same revolution that the political left, particularly in the legacy media, have long dreaded. Over the last week, with President Trump announcing his cabinet at breakneck speed, and we've actually never seen anything quite like this, the Democrats and their pathetic mouthpieces in the legacy media have literally descended into delirious hysterics. Take, for example, the latest from the gift that never stops giving, AOC on MSNBC.
We haven't even gotten to Tulsi Gabbard potentially having access to national security information. And Russia loves it, loves her.
And I actually think almost more than Matt Gaetz, Tulsi Gabbard's appointment is devastating. And Tulsi Gabbard's nomination, as much as she says that she's an anti-war person, she's not.
Yeah.
She supports very pro-war individuals.
Including
abroad.
in Syria.
And let's be very clear, a Tulsi Gabbard nomination is a pro-war nomination globally. Point blank, period.
As is Donald Trump as president of the United States.
What is it with the eyes of lunatics? Have you noticed that? They're all just, they've got they just stare at you, those Tim Waltz eyes. I mean, what is it that's, I'll have to ask Jordan Peterson that sometimes. Now, if you're having a hard time wrapping your head around that excuse for a conversation, wrapping your head around how the only U.S. president in modern politics who never started a new war during his tenure, first term, how the only U.S. president in modern politics who've never started a new war is somehow a pro-war president. If you're having a hard time wrapping your head around that, you're not alone.
All right, let's put this back on. I had to go to the bathroom, guys.
Here is the one and
Good
only
morning, guys.
Scott Jennings.
All right.
Trying his best to resuscitate sanity in the midst of a CNN panel.
Intellectually honest, there's really no good reason why Bobby Kennedy, RFK Jr., should be HHS secretary. An advisor, a confidant, somebody who talks to the president and advises, but there's no managerial experience in his resume. There's nothing that says he is qualified to do this job that is in charge of the health of all of us, all these different lanes. If he has views and has insights around food sources, around vaccines, then those should be given in advisory roles.
Why?
Well, because...
Well, what were the qualifications of the previous ones?
Well, I think it's important to always remember
qualifications.
that you put yourself... Say that again?
What were the management qualifications? I mean, Xavier Becerra...
I'm not talking about the previous. I'm looking forward.
But you're calling into question whether he could actually do this job. And I think it's...
Absolutely. I think America is now, and I think
it's important to discuss it because Xavier Becerra was just a lawyer and a politician with no management experience.
So does two wrongs make a right?
Sylvia Burwell was a Walmart lobbyist. Donna Shalala was a university person. Look,
RFK Jr. is a nut.
Okay, so that's different than what you just said. You just said he doesn't possess the requisite managerial experience, but then we get to the real issue here, which is you want to insult the man, which is your right to do because you opposed him in the election. But you, Doctor, are raising the issues that he has been raising, and I think they're appropriate questions to raise. I don't know whether he can be confirmed or not. The vaccine stuff at the table is obviously going to be the flashpoint of this hearing. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you one thing. This whole issue of the CDC and these public health agencies, look, public trust in the health regime in this country is as low as it's ever been.
But why?
Because of COVID.
Right.
Because of school closures. Because of mask mandates. Because this country was... But let me just finish. Because this country was drugged through a bunch of condescending and heavy-handed mandates that all turned out to be garbage, and that's why it's low, and the questions are valid.
And RFK is the answer to all of that.
Yeah, yes, he is.
RFK helped promote the assault on the CDC that lowered the disinformation that led to more than a million deaths, Scott. More than 1 million deaths in the United States, higher than any other industrialized nation per capita. That's the result of failed policies, the demonization of the conspiracy theories.
Whose policies?
All right, under the Trump administration.
John, let me let...
That's right, Scott, let me tell you, because, since nobody's watching us, since our ratings are down 90%. But Scott, let me tell you, it's not the Democrats. It's not the garbage mandates, all of which were overturned as unconstitutional. No, it's not the heavy-handed, tyrannical technocrats that set trust and confidence in the CDC back 30 years. No. What? No, Scott. It was disinformation. That's why the legitimacy crisis is affecting our health and human services CDC. It's disinformation peddled by Robert F. Kennedy, who, by the way, we all celebrated as a hero back in 2008 when Barack Obama was considered picking him as a member of his cabinet. But no. It's never the establishment. No, it's not the establishment that's gone nuts. It's not a bunch of woke people who don't know what a woman is who are nuts. No, it's Robert Kennedy. He's nuts. Now, gang, as you, I'm sure, figured out, all of it, is gaslighting at an utterly farcical level. But what makes it all the more, frankly, bizarrely enjoyable is that no one is listening to them anymore. Less people are watching, are availing themselves of these meltdowns, these woke, left-wing, pro-establishment
John
meltdowns
Hassett, I didn't see your message.
Never before. Their audiences have literally never been lower.
Oh, let's go back to what he was saying.
No, the CDC led to its own demise. More than 1 million deaths, Scott.
More than 1 million deaths in the United States, higher than any other industrialized nation per capita. That's the result of failed policies, the demonization of the conspiracy theories.
Whose policies?
All right, under the Trump administration.
John, let me let...
That's right, Scott. Let me tell you, because, since nobody's watching us, since our ratings are down 90%. But Scott, let me tell you, it's not the Democrats. It's not the garbage mandates, all of which were overturned as unconstitutional. No, it's not the heavy-handed, tyrannical technocrats that set trust and confidence in the CDC back 30 years. No. What? No. Scott. It was disinformation. That's why the legitimacy crisis is affecting our health and human services CDC. It's disinformation peddled by Robert F. Kennedy. Who, yeah, by the way, we all celebrated as a hero back in 2008 when Barack Obama was considered picking him as a member of his cabinet. But no. It's never the establishment. No, it's not the establishment that's gone nuts. It's not a bunch of woke people who don't know what a woman is who are nuts. No, it's Robert Kennedy. He's nuts. Now, gang, as you, I'm sure, figured out, all of this, all of it, is gaslighting at an utterly farcical level. But what makes it all the more, frankly, bizarrely enjoyable is that no one is listening to them anymore. Less people are watching, are availing themselves of these meltdowns, these woke, left-wing, pro-establishment meltdowns than ever before. Their audiences have literally never been lower. We talked about this in yesterday's video. It's being widely reported that CNN, that panel that you just saw, maybe probably about half of them are going to get laid off. They're about to conduct mass firings to offset their loss in ad revenue because they're suffering from their lowest ratings in 3 decades. In addition, Comcast is trying to offload MSNBC onto somebody, some poor sap who would buy that. Well, maybe it'd be pretty cool. Might be pretty cool if someone like Elon bought MSNBC. Alex Jones is looking for a new home, isn't he? So Comcast, which owns NBC, is looking to sell off its ultra-left spinoff MSNBC because it's simply not making money anymore. So you're having all of these unhinged, literally unhinged meltdowns over Matt Gaetz and Bobby Kennedy and Pete Hegseth. But to add insult to injury, nobody is tuning into these meltdowns. And the reason for that is very simple. People have had enough of being lied to. People have had enough of being... Not everyone. I talked about this with Mark Mitchell Rasmussen last night. One of the key differences between Republicans, MAGA Republicans, and Democrats in this campaign cycle was that Republicans, and I know all of you would agree with this because you chimed in on this, Republicans wanted to be told the truth. I know that. I heard it from you guys time and time again in the comments and the questions that you that send me. You wanted the truth. If voters were rejecting Donald Trump, you wanted to know that. You wanted to know that. You wanted to know if the polls that had him up, the best polls that we've seen in more than 2016, 2020, best polls we've seen ever of Trump. You wanted to know if those polls were real. Are you sure they're not rigging those polls to lure us into a false sense of confidence here? You wanted to know the truth. You wanted to make sure we did everything we could to highlight the possibility of election shenanigans surfacing once again and what we can do to stop it. You wanted the truth. And I hope I proved myself that I was absolutely dedicated every single day to delivering you the truth as best as I understood it. And I was with you. I was the same way. If Trump wasn't doing well, I wanted to know. Because then that'll help us prepare for 2026, 2028, and the like. But for the Democrats, or at least, again, in fairness, a particular rabid wing of the Democrats, things were very different. These Democrats, all throughout the campaign, seem to both demand and frankly revel in being lied to. They appeared to revel in the blatant fabrications that were laid out before them by an all too eager to accommodate legacy media. And I'm not exaggerating. Take a look at how Rachel Maddow of MSNBC reported on a poll where even some of the most liberal pollsters believed to be completely inaccurate, completely fallacious, just 3 days before the election. Take a look at how she presented a poll, again, that even liberal pollsters said, oh, don't pay any attention to that. That's a total outlier. Look at how she reported this.
Seltzer's recent track record. I mean, what you see here is in each election year, what her final poll said the result would be in Iowa. Next to that is what the actual result was on Election Day. And as you can see, if you look at the Senate and presidential races since 2012, her poll has accurately predicted the winner of the Senate and presidential races in Iowa within 1 or 2 points every time. There was a governor's race in 2018 where things went a little bit gang-a-glay, but in Senate and presidential races, you have seen Ann Seltzer basically as a living bullseye. And that's why lots of people had strong reactions when the Des Moines Register Ann Seltzer Iowa poll was posted last night. This is that poll, and it is a shock result. It shows Kamala Harris ahead of Donald Trump by 3 points in Iowa. And the reason this is consequential to our psyche is that if this is accurate, and if anybody is accurate, it's likely to be Ann Seltzer in the Iowa poll. If this is accurate, this implies that Harris might be winning Iowa. 3 points, granted, it's within the margin of error here, but it's 3 points. Iowa is a state where neither campaign has spent any time or resources since the primaries. They don't have a ground game there. They don't have ads up there. Trump won Iowa by 8 points last time and 9 points the time before that. Nobody thinks of it as a swing state. A Democratic presidential candidate hasn't won Iowa since Barack Obama in 2012. But here she is with a lead. In addition to that top-line lead, the poll's internal numbers show dynamics in terms of women voters, and particularly older women voters, that could, again, if they hold, have really major implications beyond Iowa.
It makes me mad just to think, I know she's got record low ratings right now, but to think of all those people that believed her, that believed that. I told you on this channel before the election, I mentioned that poll. Anyone who follows and analyzes politics and seeks to do so accurately and with a semblance of credibility and integrity, and I'm talking literally everyone, knew that that poll was patently absurd. It's not even a matter of this poll being an outlier. I mean, you're going to have polling outliers, right? That's what you're going to have polls that diverge from the polling consensus. Sure, no question. And if you want to focus on that, like, hey, maybe this is the beginning of a trend here. You know, these other guys are being caught behind. They're hurting over here, and hey, we're going to be on the cutting edge of this trend. Okay, but at least make an argument for that. If Maddow at least said that, if she at least said, guys, this is a serious outlier, there are all kinds of indicators that show it's not happening. No, Kamala's team is not even remotely campaigning in Iowa. They've got their internal polls. I've talked to them. They said, no, that's an outlier. We forget. I mean, that would have been at least within the realm of responsible political analysis. But as you can see there with your own eyes or hear with your own ears, if you're one of our 20 million podcast downloads, she celebrated that poll with her dwindling audience. She cheerled that poll with her rabid, frothing at the mouth audience. She championed it as signaling a massive landslide win for Kamala. But Bobby Kennedy is the nut. As it turns out, that poll was, it was slightly wrong. It was slightly off by just 17 points. Would you trust a pollster who gave you a poll that was 17 points off? Would you put money ever again on what that pollster said? The company, by the way, behind Seltzer's polls is actually being investigated for polling impropriety. And Seltzer's reputation is in utter and complete tatters. And Rachel Maddow, well, her audience is once again abandoning her and her fledgling network. That's why Comcast is trying to get rid of it. MSNBC has lost half of their primetime audience since election night. You heard that right, half. And it's not just MSNBC, right? According to the Nielsen ratings, CNN has lost upwards of 40% of their audience. And keep in mind, like I said, they currently have the lowest primetime viewership in the last 3 decades. They can't afford to lose too many more. So while there is a rabid core of Democrats that clearly want to be lied to, and Rachel Maddow and the nightly lineups at MSNBC and CNN certainly are more than willing to accommodate that psychopathic inclination, while there are a rabid core of Democrats that want to be lied to, obviously a significant number don't. Obviously a significant number, and that's why I'm trying to be fair here. Well, the numbers bear it out. Obviously a significant number of them don't. They don't want to be lied to. Hence why all CNN, MSNBC are hemorrhaging viewers. They feel betrayed, as they should. Yes, Rachel Maddow betrayed you. She harped on your highest hopes, and she profited off it. She cared nothing about political, analytical integrity. Nothing. And she brought you for the ride. Your heart got crushed on November 5th, and she just goes, oh, well, misogyny, racism, Robert Kennedy's a nut. So what does all this mean? It means that the fledgling networks of MSNBC and CNN are increasingly talking to a more radicalized audience. You got to let that hit you as they see the audience that actually wants honesty leave. Who's left? Who's left is your radicalized, frothing at the mouth lunatics. And so it's no coincidence that since the election, the fabrications we've been hearing from MSNBC and CNN have gotten wilder and loonier. They will actually tell their audience that the most anti-war president that we've had in modern politics is a pro-warmonger. They will tell their audience that the total implosion in trust and confidence in the CDC and our health institutions is because of a bunch of disinformation shared by this HHS nominee and Elon Musk. This is what the legacy media has been reduced to. The reason why the legacy media is flipping out over these nominations is precisely because the only audience left to listen to them are rabid left-wing radicals that want to be lied to. They want the fabrications to continue. And why? You can answer the question. You know it. What's the answer? Put it in the chat. Why do they want to be lied to? Why do the most extreme, woke, frothing at the mouth leftists want to be lied to? Because they're living a lie. In a nutshell. And it's all coming crashing down. Woke leftists live in a fabricated reality. They live in a world that doesn't actually exist. A world of their own making, of their own construction. And they can't handle reality as it actually is. We mock them, but there is a real tragedy to this. So what's the result? What's the result of this basically unraveling web of lies that the media and the woke left have created for themselves? Well, gang, the result of all of this is the most delicious part of it all. But first, if you are just joining us, if you want to ask me your questions, because YouTube has suspended our super chats, just click on that link below or go to fight.charlietalks.com/join. Join any one of our levels of support, and you have access to our own virtual platform where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them right here on this live stream. Also, our country witnessed a moment we'll obviously never forget. We saw a man get shot in the face, stand up, fist in the air, and in defiance scream, "Fight." Now, sadly, too many of us have lost our fight, and that's exactly how the globalists want it. They want us weak. They want us out of shape and full of estrogen and microplastics. This is why we're so excited to partner with Chalk. CHOQ Chalk. They offer a whole lineup of products formulated to increase your energy, your focus, detoxify your body, and based on clinical studies, boost your testosterone. In fact, the ingredients in the Chalk Male Vitality Stack have been clinically studied to boost free testosterone by 87% in just 21 days. Now, unlike with gimmicky vegetable pills or powder, you'll feel the difference. And they have the clinical studies to back it up. And right now, you can get 25% off your Chalk subscription for life. You heard that right? For life. Just go to chalk.com. Remember, that's spelled CHOQ.com and use the promo code Turley. And then you're going to get 25% off any subscription you choose for life. And you can cancel at any time. Chalk is made right here in America. Their all-American customer service team is standing by to assist you. Gang, it is time to take men's vitality seriously. It's time to make men's vitality great again. That's Chalk today. That's CHOQ.com. That's CHOQ.com. Promo code Turley. You can text them or call them at 50-CHOQ-3000. That's 50-CHOQ-3000. The new reality that's slowly setting in among more and more Democrats is that they have lost, just like what we were saying in the very beginning. They've lost. And when I say they've lost, I'm not just talking about an election. I'm going to show you. Even the Atlantic is admitting this. The ultra-left Atlantic is admitting this in due course. I'm getting ahead of myself. But they're starting to realize that they've lost,
I'll be right back.
Totally. They've lost all across the board. We're not just talking the presidency, the Senate, the House, the majority of governorships, the majority of state legislatures across the nation. I'm not just talking about they lost otherwise reliably blue counties that swung to the right overwhelmingly, a record number of blue counties, even blue districts in some of the deepest blue cities in the nation, such as the Bronx and Queens and Miami. Yeah, they lost the election, but they lost the election because they first lost the culture. The Democrats have lost the culture. I mean, think about it. The very fact that Kamala Harris's campaign centered on gathering together all the big pop star icons of the day meant that she believed that, Beyonce and Oprah and all of, and J-Lo, she believed that the Democrats' hold on culture as a whole, but particularly pop culture, was enough for her to win the day. And this, of course, has been the Democrat assumption now for decades. Politics is downstream from culture, and Reagan tax cuts and deregulation and blah, blah, blah. President Donald Trump is fundamentally unfit for this office, they were saying in 2015. Yeah, remember that, National Review? Remember that? Kamala Harris's campaign, more than any other campaign in recent memory, relied on those cultural victories. She harnessed those cultural forces together to win this. She harnessed pop culture. She harnessed the legal culture and the weaponized lawfare. She harnessed the legacy media. She harnessed academia. She harnessed establishment Washington. She harnessed the deep state. She harnessed the entire establishment culture, brought them together to defeat one man, and she lost. She lost. And a number of articles are starting to appear from left-wing publications like this one from The Atlantic that are trying to reconcile, they're trying to come to terms with this new reality where the unthinkable just happened. The left lost the culture war. The Democrats lost. After dominating the culture war for decades, November 5th signaled unambiguously that that dominance is now officially over. Ironically, a pop star icon like Donald Trump, because that's really what he is, he's a celebrity, a pop star icon, is the one who killed it. But why? How did the Democrats' dominance over all the cultural institutions of our nation so quickly collapse? What happened there? I don't know how many of you know a fellow by the name of Roy Takara. He's known as the Liberal Patriot. He's got the Liberal Patriot Substack. It's very, very good. He's, I guess for lack of a better term, he's a populist Democrat. But he's got a great piece on the collapse of the Obama coalition. And Takara has been warning his fellow Democrats for years now. I mean, he saw this back in 2016. He's been warning his fellow Democrats, there is indeed a revolution that is happening, but it's not an Obama revolution. There is indeed a political realignment in the making, or what they were calling the rising American electorate. He said, yes, that's true, but it ain't the Obama electorate. He argued that the real realignment that we were seeing, again, he likes truth, the real realignment that we're seeing has the potential of shattering not just the Democratic Party, but the whole of their iron grip on all of our cultural institutions. Now, if you're a regular to this channel, and if not, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. But if you are a regular, you'll know this political realignment that he warned Democrats about very, very well, because we talk about it all the time on this channel. We have been talking about it since November 1st, 2016. It is something we first recognized back in June 23rd of Brexit. It's happening on both sides of the Atlantic, this political realignment. It involves, you know it, put it in the chat, it involves the mass defection of the working class away from the political left, where it used to be. It actually used to be the foundation, the basis for the political left. Hence, in Britain, they call it labor. FDR's New Deal centered itself on the working class. This political earthquake, this tectonic shift, involves the working class moving en masse over to the political right, particularly for Trump. They're still not quite sold on Republicans yet, but they are definitely sold on Trump. Now, what's so interesting, as I alluded to here with this political realignment of the working class, is it's happening on both sides of the Atlantic. We're seeing it all throughout Europe. We saw it with the Brexit referendum back in 2016, where the vast majority of the British working class voted to leave the European Union. They voted against globalism. We saw it with the rise of Giorgia Meloni in Italy, where the Italian working class began to vote with the right for the first time ever back in just 2 years ago. We saw it with the rise of Marine Le Pen in France with the Yellow Vest uprising. We saw it with Geert Wilders in the Netherlands with the Farmers' Revolt. On both sides of the Atlantic, we're seeing a comparable shift among working class voters away from their traditional labor left parties over now to the nationalist populist right. And the key reason for this, when all is said and done, is because the right on both sides of the Atlantic has been able to shift left on economic issues, more protectionist, populist economic issues, in a way that the leftist parties have not been able to shift right on cultural issues. That's key. The right, nationalist populist parties, have been able to shift left on economic issues. At the same time, the left has not been able to shift right on cultural issues. So while the left has increasingly embraced wokeness, the right has been able to address both working class concerns over globalist economics on the one hand, but also their concerns on woke lunacy on the other. And it's the working class, both white and increasingly non-white, that are leading the way here, leading the way in this great revolt against globalism and globalist institutions. I talked about this earlier, but we've got a very interesting, there you go, we've got a very, very interesting breakdown of this election. If you take a look at this, in urban counties and cities, they shifted 5 points to Trump. In suburban counties, all those white right women that were supposed to come out for Kamala, sorry, they shifted to Trump by 4. Counties with higher than a 25% black population shifted to Trump by 4. Counties with a 25% or more Latino population, boom, shifted to Trump by nearly 10, 9.5. Counties that are less than half white shifted to Trump by 7. And even counties with more than 50% college grads, the new centerpiece of the woke left, the college grad, even those counties shifted to Trump by 4. But there's another massive realignment happening on top of this. Eric Lendrum of American Greatness published a great piece, I should just say, entitled The Coming Era of MAGA Dominance. This is part of this revolution that Elon Musk is talking about here. And he argued in this really great piece that the key political realignment that we're seeing is not so much the working class. Yes, he says absolutely that's real, that's massive, that's incredible. But there's another one. If anything, we might think of that as sort of a horizontal realignment, but he's seeing a vertical realignment. He is seeing a realignment involving a single demographic. Who knows it? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. Who knows it? What's the one single demographic that in every subcategory swung over to Trump? Men. That's right. Patriarchy is back. Men. Men overwhelmingly rejected the Democrat Party on November 5th. Trump's dominance with men is the one consistent factor across all demographic lines in the country. So he won married men by 22 points, but he even won unmarried men, who, by the way, interesting, are some of the most liberal constituents in the country. Unmarried men, he won them by 2. He won white men by 23 points. He won white suburban men by 27 points. He won non-college grad white men by 40 points. He won college-educated white men by 3 points. He uses college-educated. I like to say college-indoctrinated, but a college grad white men by 3 points. And he won with men of every single age demographic. He even won the youngest of men between the ages of 18 to 29 by a 2-point margin. Thank you, Charlie Kirk. And his leads are only getting bigger as the ages get higher. Even across racial lines, the overwhelming support for President Trump among men cannot be ignored. He outright won Hispanic men by 12. I'm going to say that again. He won the Hispanic male vote 55 to 43. It wasn't even close. He won it by double digits. And in the single most loyally democratic demographic in the country, black voters, Trump managed to score 21% of black men, just like we knew he would. Thank you, Rich Barris. Rich Barris saw that for last year. 21% of black men compared to Kamala's 77%. We have not seen that before. This mass defection of working class voters, and particularly men, is completely unraveling the left's hold, not just in politics, but on all cultural institutions throughout the nation. They are turning away from all things woke. They want nothing more to do with it. Or as Bridget Fetisi referred to this was the Bud Light election. This was the Bud Light election. The Democrats got Bud Lighted, in effect, and we got Chris Rocked. And now that Bud Light election and that Chris Rock coalition, that realignment is coming to Washington. And Trump is ready like never before. Wait until you see what's ahead. But first, if these last 4 years taught us anything, gang, we always have to be ready for threats to our freedoms. And what makes it even worse is that those who threaten our freedoms are the very ones who've sworn to defend those freedoms. They think they can violate your right to protect your own family. They think they can force their delusions on your children and your grandchildren. They think they can control the media and hide the truth from you. But here's the key. They can't take away from you what they've never given you. Self-reliance means peace of mind. That back stock of filtered water, yours. A fully charged solar generator, ready. The emergency food on your shelf, safe, especially if that food is from My Patriot Supply. Having served millions of American families, My Patriot Supply is well equipped to help yours. Go to preparewithturley.com right now and stock up on their best-selling 3-month emergency food kit. It delivers over 2,000 calories every single day, sealed inside ultra-durable 4-layer packaging. It lasts up to 25 years. Oh, and did I mention it's delicious? Go to preparewithturley.com and get your kit before it's too late. It ships fast and free. Preparewithturley.com. Matt Continetti has an excellent article on the Washington Free Beacon about what the entire MAGA movement really is. It's called Meet the New Boss, and it's a fascinating analysis of how Trump 2.0 is so radically different from what we got in 2016. We have to remember, going back to 2016, right, 8 years ago, we have to remember that Trump was a total political neophyte. He was the first candidate in our history who was elected president without any prior political or military experience. He won the electoral vote, but he lost the popular vote that, disgruntled liberals never let us forget. And this is absolutely key. He had virtually no allies on Capitol Hill, most especially among establishment rhino Republicans. Remember, the best way of understanding Trump is that he's a third-party candidate who won a major party nomination. That's so key. He's a third-party candidate who won a major party nomination. And what's the problem with a third party winning the presidency? They have no support in Congress among the two parties. The two parties, frankly, just gang up and oppose them. I mean, it's long been conjectured that that's exactly what would happen were an independent to ever win the White House. It would be a disaster because both parties would end up ganging up on him or her. But as of 2016, that's no longer conjecture. We saw precisely that. Both parties, establishment Republicans and Democrats, the duopoly, the uniparty, every single day did everything they possibly could to undermine Trump's presidency. And this despite the fact that Trump did everything he possibly could to reach out and incorporate establishment rhinos into his administration. He even had dinner with freaking Mitt Romney at one point. He appointed John Bolton to his staff. I mean, you don't get more sleazy rhino scum than that. And yet they all turned on him. That's the crap he had to deal with every single day in his first term. Every week of the campaign, every day of his presidency, Paul Eddie Munster Ryan would come out and do a press conference to distance himself from Trump. The swamp rats over at National Review would write articles praising Ryan for his so-called principled opposition to Trump. That's the crap Trump dealt with all 4 years of his presidency. And keep in mind, it was all from his own party. Forget all the other insanity he dealt with the Russian hoax-obsessed Democrats. That is emphatically not what's happening now. As Continetti points out, now with Trump 2.0, he himself personally is more experienced. He understands the presidency. He understands its powers. He steamrolled through the opposition in the primaries. And most significantly, he's the first Republican to win the popular vote in 20 years. The Republican Party has been unified around MAGA. Virtually all of the never-Trumpers, from Paul Ryan to Liz Cheney to Jeff Flake, remember him, to crying Adam Kinzinger, they're all gone. And now this MAGA Republican Party controls all three branches of government. And this, in many respects, is Trump's retribution. His galvanizing the Republican Party around MAGA is now giving him the absolute unfettered boldness to dismantle the entire regime. That's exactly what Megyn Kelly's talking about. How Matt Gaetz, as Attorney General, is simply the consequence of the establishment working against Trump these last 8 years. Gaetz is merely a mirror of the establishment's own devious failures. Check it out.
Donald Trump and your chosen Attorney General has turned you over to Robert Mueller, who then ruined your first term as president with a bunch of bullshit. Then you leave office, and the next guy's attorney general is behind not one, but two criminal prosecutions of you, and his DOJ is cooperating with not one, but two state prosecutions of you in a bridge that's never been crossed in our 250-year history as a nation. Then I, too, might prize loyalty to me above all other qualities and go with a guy like Matt Gaetz. Who can blame Trump for trying to pick the most loyal soldier he can find for this position?
Again, that's the key. I mean, Gaetz is the mirror of the establishment's own conniving failures. He is the consequence of their politics of personal destruction, which ironically have been launched against Matt Gaetz, as I'm sure you're all well aware. You'll notice that the John Cornines of the world and the Trey Gowdies of the world, they never, ever, ever. Gowdy is he's just a lapdog for Murdoch on Fox. They never question the integrity of the deep state. They never question the integrity of these character assassination investigations. They love them. They live by them because they give them the cover to then oppose the very people the establishment wants out. It's all of these character assassination investigations, and they're always seedy. You ever notice that? They always involve underage kids and stuff. Always, without question. Very interesting, huh? We talk about projection a lot on this channel. Very interesting. But those investigations give the cover for people like John Cornine to run around and oppose the very people who are going to turn Washington upside down. This is exactly what happened to Roy Moore from Alabama, if you recall. Mitch McConnell made sure that the deep state operatives fabricate a bunch of smutty details surrounding him. They leak it to the press. The press publishes it. Does this all sound familiar? The press publishes it. And then what does Mitch McConnell do? He skips around Washington saying, well, this is exactly why Roy Moore can never come to D.C. That's the cybernetic loop, as it were, of the politics of personal destruction. Establishment politicians put a target on a disruptor's back. The investigative agencies concoct a bunch of salacious accusations. They leak them to the press. And then the establishment politicians, after the headlines are published, get to close the loop by openly opposing this disruptor, with the press finishing the job saying, this disruptor's DOA. This disruptor has no future in Washington. He'll never be confirmed now. The problem for the establishment, again, as Continetti alludes to here in this article, is that those days are over. That politics of personal destruction loop isn't working anymore. It didn't work against Trump. It's not working against RFK. It's not working against Matt Gaetz. It's not working. And why isn't it working? Put that in the chat. Why is it not working? Because all the way back to what we saw at the beginning. It's because the American people have largely lost all trust and confidence in both the government and the legacy media. That's why all of the hysterics, all the hyperventilating temper tantrums on CNN and MSNBC are going nowhere. That's why all the virtue signaling from rhinos like John Cornyn are going nowhere. And it's precisely because of this dynamic we talk about all the time on this channel. Again, you'll make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button, because then you'll get all these very cool social terms here, sociology terms. The dynamic of delegitimation, or sometimes referred to as delegitimization. So you can trip over your tongue when you say that. The only way that public institutions are able to function is if the majority of the population trusts those institutions. Public institutions have a privileged status in any society, in that everyone avails themselves of them, right, in some way, shape, or form. But the only way they can maintain that privileged position in society is that the vast majority of the population trusts that the institutions are there for the benefit of all. The moment that a significant number of that population reaches what we might call a tipping point of distrust, where they find that the public institutions no longer serve the common good, they will turn on those institutions. They will turn on it. And oftentimes those institutions are completely defenseless to do anything about. Just ask the Berlin Wall. Take a look at just take a look at the Berlin Wall. Take a look at the Soviet Union. That's what happens when you have a critical mass, a tipping point of the population that no longer trusts in the legitimacy of the institutions. The moment the lack of trust and confidence reaches a record low among the majority of the nation, they will turn on those public institutions. They will turn on the legacy media. They will turn on the Justice Department. They will turn on the CDC, and on and on and on. Trump knows that. He knows that the majority of his party in Washington, D.C. knows that. And so he's going for it. There has never been a more opportune time than this one. Legitimacy has never been so low for our public institutions. And so he's assembled the Avenger team, and they are ready to rip apart Washington like never before. This is the revolution that you made happen. A revolution that has realigned politics, a revolution that has stripped the left of its cultural power and is now about to dismantle the administrative state once and for all. It's a revolution that cannot be stopped. A revolution that promises to change the nation and the world forever. Over to you as our moderators assemble your questions. If you want to ask me your questions, just YouTube, unfortunately, has suspended our Super Chats. I don't know why. I'm such a nice guy. Why would they suspend our Super Chats? Why would they demonetize this channel? Why? I don't know. But you can help us with that. You can join any one of our levels of support just by clicking on that link below or going to fight.turleytalks.com/join. Join any one of our levels of support. You have instant access to our very own virtual platform, our censorship-free virtual platform, where you can ask me all your questions. I'll be happy to answer them right here on this live stream. Also, you have got to stop putting off what you know you need to do. I know you need to do this. If you have not yet secured the deed to your home as of yet, it's the easiest thing in the world. Just click on that link below and do it right now and protect yourself and your loved ones. I was shocked when I found out how easy it is to access the deed to my house, and not just access it, but actually change it, right? The deed to your home is the only document that proves you own it. But the problem is that the deeds to our homes, they're all now online, and criminals are free to find your deed, forge your signature, refile as the new owner of your home, take out tons of loans using your home's equity, and then they just stick you with all the debt. But that's where our good friends over at Home Title Lock come in. Gang, they're absolutely amazing. Home Title Lock gives you the peace of mind that the deed to your home is absolutely and completely protected 24/7. Click on that link below right now. Use promo code Turley Talks, and all you got to do is enter your address for your no obligation home title scan to see if you've already been a victim of deed theft. That's $100 value, absolutely free, with my promo code Turley Talks. Don't wait for the worst to happen, only to regret you didn't do something about it when you could have. Do what I've done. Do what countless patriots have done. Click on that link below right now and secure your home today. All right, boys, who do we got? What do we got? Bring on the questions. We got no questions? I'm sure. Eric, the red question. I bet you knew Gates was going to get appointed in some capacity. I totally had that feeling, knowing how aligned he was. Pretty cool that you said about how they're assuring the appointments work out. Yeah, definitely. Recess appointments. It's that's just Tom Massey the other day just said that. He's like, guys, get used to saying Attorney General Matt Gaetz. I mean, it's just the recess appointments are a given. That's part of how John Thune got to be Senate Majority Leader. It's Game of Thrones stuff. And he agreed, and even said that on Brett Baer on Fox News the other day. He did agree that they would allow President Trump to recess appoint, and President Trump can call a recess of Congress and then appoint his own cabinet if he feels like those cabinet members are being obstructed. So, yeah, it's a done deal as far as I can see. Brenton, question. I understand the Democrat governors are forming a blue state alliance. Well, where are they getting that idea from? Let's see. You changed it. Thwart initiative brought by Trump administration. To thwart initiatives brought by Trump administration may be too soon, but how can this be countered? Good question, Brent. I don't know. Obviously, this is going to be fought at the legal and administrative level. And in many respects, it's kind of like, look, I mean, blue states just want to fall apart. Here's the problem for blue state governors. Every single state, I think for the exception of Colorado, every single state moved to the right, and dramatically so. Trump lost New Jersey by 5 points. This is unheard of. Kamala got half the margin in New York that Biden got. I mean, less than half. Even in California, we saw counties that voted blue in 2020 vote red. We saw it. We saw it all over. And so they only risk their own political credibility if they're trying to protect their citizens from policies they actually want. Now, it may not be the majority, but a good, strong minority, maybe 40% or so. Certainly in Jersey, we're talking more than 45, 47%. So that could be what puts many of these blue states over. Is finally a rebellion among the sane, the normies in their states as well. We just got news. Micah just told me that Chris Wallace has been fired from CNN. That's just over X right now. So apparently they're not even waiting for him to resign. The first of the cutting has begun. The first of the layoffs have begun. They have fired Chris Wallace. Very good. The return of the ROT Corp. Good to see you, my friend, Dr. Turley. A couple of questions in one. Sorry in advance. You answered my question on the November 8th live stream. What is in store for the Democrats and their survival? But who will be their new leadership? Josh Shapiro and Dean Phillips seem logical, but I can't see them sticking their necks out for the party right now after how they were treated. I also don't think the ideology will allow them to pass over Whitmer or Hochul. Is Bernie too old? Is Newsom strong enough? AOC? Yeah, these are great questions. ROT Corp. I mean, I've been thinking about it a little bit, not too much. But I think I'm with you. I just think that right now they really don't know. I mean, what's his name? James Carville was asked this question recently. Go, Jane Carville. Go, Jane Carville. And he, the Raging Cajun, he said he doesn't know. He doesn't know. He keeps name dropping Hakeem Jeffords, but I think Hakeem Jeffords is too. He's too radical. He's too woke. I'm with you. I don't think Shapiro or Phillips. I just think they're too moderate. Right now, I'm not seeing a left that's willing to go moderate. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing them willing to go the way of Bernie, of just going full-blown economic populism. I'm not seeing it. What I'm seeing right now is Joy Reid basically taking over the party. I'm seeing an unhinged Joe Scarborough take over the party. I'm seeing just very nasty, angry. I'm seeing the ladies at The View take over the party. I mean, right now they're in the anger phase, it seems. Maybe they were in the denial. Maybe it's denial versus maybe they bring the two together since they're living in their own world. But the denial anger stage is they're blaming misogyny, they're blaming racism, they're blaming patriarchy, they're blaming RFK, they're blaming disinformation, they're blaming anyone and everyone but themselves. And until they start to me, that'll be key. I think you'll start seeing the healing of the Democratic Party once you find the person who can actually lead them out of this woke wilderness. But until then, I just think the most woke person is going to rise to the top. That's what I'm seeing. We'll see. Josh, if you haven't already, can you please explain the recess appointment process and how the president can adjourn Congress to recess? When did Trump need to take office first? Yes. So that's correct, as I understand. Let's see. Is it Article 1, Section 2? I'm trying to remember which section it is. I believe it's Article 1, Section 2. That the president does have the right to adjourn Congress and can appoint members to his cabinet that were obstructed during that process. So again, it's a checks and balances kind of thing. The president should have a right to whoever he wants to serve in his cabinet, but the Senate has that process of being able to advise and consent. Again, so you don't have dangers or whatever. It's just so that they have some checking procedure on the president. But then the president can turn around and call the recess. At this point, I don't think that's going to happen. If they're going to need all they'll need is about 2 or 3 Republicans to drop out. Say, no, I could never confirm Matt Gaetz, the Lisa Murkowski's, the Susan Collins. I can't confirm Matt Gaetz, or and that you'll just have the 2 or 3, and then that'll be enough to confirm him. Or they will say, no, we don't have the votes to confirm him, but we will vote. The Senate does vote to adjourn. And the Republicans, if again, you just have 51% of the Republicans, I believe. So I forget what the total is. Do you have to have 50% of the Republicans? And yes, it has to be a majority in the Senate. And then I believe it has to be ratified in the House, which it would be. That would be the job of certainly of the returning speaker, Johnson. So if that happens, they would adjourn. And then Trump would appoint whoever he wants. And it's just, I don't think a lot of these guys on MSNBC, or again, Trey Gowdy is such a scum. I'm sorry. Trey Gowdy is such a swamp scum. He's Karl Rove with a bad haircut at this point. But I think they're living in an old normal, in an old era. We are in post-normal times. And I think Trump is signaling to everyone, as Elon has said last night, guys, we're not asking permission anymore. This is a revolution. You either, what is it? You either fall down, lead, get out of the way, whatever it is, but you are not going to want to stand in the way of this. So he's going to get his nominees as I see it right now. Will, Dr. Turley, good AM. I am deeply concerned over the Gaetz story. I was aware of it. He claims it's a setup. Others, like Kevin McCarthy, dispute this. Well, of course. Will, can I just stop you there? Of course he's going to dispute that, right? Gaetz took him down. Now he wants to take Gaetz down, dispute this, and use the congressional investigation as the reason Gaetz organized a GOP coup. Was the appointment a means for Trump to get rid of Gaetz from the House, to separate from Gaetz and return to the investigation to go away? Your thoughts? No. Because he knew that this would bring the investigation front and center. It's just Trump. Well, he wants Gaetz because he thinks Gaetz is going to bring a thermonuclear bomb to the DOJ that tried to ruin both their lives. Do not pay any attention to the politics of personal destruction. Pay none. Democrats don't, so you don't. This is brass knuckle political fights here. You don't pay no attention to them whatsoever. Republicans like McCarthy and rhinos only run around and go, oh, but wait, look. It's because the Democrats own D.C. and they rent. Democrats never align themselves with Republicans. It's always Republicans who align themselves with Democrats. All right? Never forget that. Democrats built the deep state. They built the establishment. Republicans only rent, right? 4 terms of FDR, 2 terms of Truman, 40 years in Congress. They built the deep state. So pay no attention to it. And no, I think Trump picked Gates to blow up the DOJ, and no one can blow it up like Gates can. So I wouldn't pay any attention to it at all. I mean, in terms of just the politics of personal destruction. And again, if you go these Republicans like Cornyn going, that's why I can't vote for you. Good, don't forget recess. He will vote for the recess, and Trump will appoint Gates as a recess appointment. No problem. He's getting appointed one way or the other. Suck it, as Tom Massey would say. Terry, isn't Trump taking a terrible risk by appointing 4 Republicans in the House to Senate confirmation level positions? 3 vacancies. The Republican conference could stand and still maintain control, even if Duarte and Steele and Nick Begich and Alaska all lose. But 4, not sustainable. Is that part of the reason Matt Gaetz resigned now? To start the clock on a special election to fill his vacancy right away? As I understand it, all 4 are, I thought it was 3, but you're probably right. It's 4. I just lost count. Are safe red seats. So it's not Stefanik, Gates. I mean, they're just, they're not, they're going to replace them with Republicans, and hopefully MAGA Republicans at that. So I think we're okay. I wouldn't worry about it. They know. They're seeing it. They're taking a look at it. RT Corp, Dr. Turley, where do you see the Elon Musk interfered with the election because Starlink was connected to voting machines? Okay. Oh, I say. I didn't know what agreement going. Do you think voters are going to take it seriously? Do you think Democrats really believe voters are going to take it seriously? Also, what do you think about the push to get Biden to resign and make Kamala Harris president for 2 months? Yeah, I've nothing doing on either one of them. Even Polymarket's giving Biden 95% chance of filling out his term. No, I mean, Biden he's just a figurehead at this point. You don't need anybody. And they're not going to reward Kamala. I mean, Kamala, she threatened him with the 25th. She and Obama and Pelosi. You saw how Jill, the cold shoulder that she gave to Kamala at the Veterans Day festivities. I mean, that was as compared to all the smiles she had when she was around Trump. Now she's the Bidens have no love for Kamala. They're not going to do anything to help her. As for the Elon Musk interfering in the election, that's going nowhere. John, Dr. Steve, you appear very confident that Matt Gaetz will be confirmed, but I'm starting to hear some weak-kneed Republican senators like Murkowski and Collins suggesting they will not support him. Your thoughts? Yeah, it's called recess appointment. They don't need her. They know they're not getting Murkowski. They know they're not getting Collins. They know that. They're not stupid. They know that. But they also know this is part of the agreement of letting John Thune become Senate leader, that he was going to allow for recess appointments. So if it's clear that Matt Gaetz does not have enough Republican senator support, if you get these weak-kneed rhinos doing what establishment rhinos do because they've been bought and paid for, no problem. Then you just call recess and you appoint Gaetz that way. It's easy.
To make more coffee. I'm going to have to bring out the whiteboard to solve the rest of this equation. We have a cast vote record today from Jefferson County that we're going to be going over. So we do have a lot to do today. And John Hassett, I have no idea what's going on until I have a cast vote record in front of me. And that is Dr. Steve Turley, yes. So All right, guys, I'll be right back.
mean, barring just like Republicans to drop out, say no, I could never confirm Matt Gaetz. The Lisa Murkowski's, the Susan Collins. I can't confirm Matt Gaetz, or and that you'll just have the 2 or 3, and then that'll be enough to confirm him, or they will say no, we don't have the votes to confirm him, but we will vote. The Senate does vote to adjourn. And the Republicans, if again, you just have 51% of the Republicans, I believe, to adjourn. I forget what the total is. Do you have to have 50% of the Republicans? And yes, you have to have, it has to be a majority in the Senate. And then I believe it has to be ratified in the House, which it would be. That would be the job of certainly of the returning speaker, Johnson. So if that happens, they would adjourn. And then Trump would appoint whoever he wants. And it's just, I don't think a lot of these guys on MSNBC, or again, Trey Gowdy is such a scum. I'm sorry. Trey Gowdy is such a swamp scum. He's Karl Rove with a bad haircut at this point. But I think they're living in an old normal, in an old era. We are in post-normal times. And I think Trump is signaling to everyone, as Elon has said last night, guys, we're not asking permission anymore. This is a revolution. You either, what is it? You either fall down, lead, get out of the way, whatever it is. But you are not going to want to stand in the way of this. So he's going to get his nominees, as I see it right now. Will, Dr. Turley, good AM. I am deeply concerned over the Gaetz story. I was aware of it. He claims it's a setup. Others, like Kevin McCarthy, dispute this. Well, of course. Will, can I just stop you there? Of course he's going to dispute that, right? Gaetz took him down. Now he wants to take Gaetz down. Dispute this and use the congressional investigation as the reason Gaetz organized a GOP coup. Was the appointment a means for Trump to get rid of Gaetz from the House, to separate from Gaetz and return to the investigation to go away? Your thoughts? No. Because he knew that this would bring the investigation front and center. It's just Trump. Well, he wants Gaetz because he thinks Gaetz is going to bring a thermonuclear bomb to the DOJ that tried to ruin both their lives. Do not pay any attention to the politics of personal destruction. Pay none. Democrats don't, so you don't. This is brass knuckle political fights here. You don't. Pay no attention to them whatsoever. Republicans like McCarthy and rhinos only run around and go, oh, but wait, look. It's because the Democrats own D.C. and they rent. Democrats never align themselves with Republicans. It's always Republicans who align themselves with Democrats. All right? Never forget that. Democrats built the deep state. They built the establishment. Republicans only rent, right? 4 terms of FDR, 2 terms of Truman, 40 years in Congress. They built the deep state. So pay no attention to it. And no, I think Trump picked Gaetz to blow up the DOJ, and no one can blow it up like Gaetz can. So I wouldn't pay any attention to it at all. I mean, in terms of just the politics of personal destruction. And again, if you go these Republicans like Cornyn going, that's why I can't vote for you. Good. Don't forget, recess. He will vote for the recess, and Trump will appoint Gaetz as a recess appointment. No problem. He's getting appointed one way or the other. Suck it, as Tom Massey would say. Terry, isn't Trump taking a terrible risk by appointing 4 Republicans in the House to Senate confirmation level positions? 3 vacancies. The Republican conference could stand and still maintain control even if Duarte and Steele and Nick Begich and Alaska all lose. But 4, not sustainable. Is that part of the reason Matt Gaetz resigned now? To start the clock on the special election to fill his vacancy right away? As I understand it, all 4 are, I thought it was 3, but you're probably right. It's 4. I just lost count. Are safe red seats. So it's not Stefanik, Gaetz. I mean, they're just they're not they're going to replace him with Republicans, and hopefully MAGA Republicans at that. So I think we're okay. I wouldn't worry about it. They know. They're seeing it. They're taking a look at it. ROT Corp, Dr. Turley, where do you see the Elon Musk interfered with the election because Starlink was connected to voting machines? Okay, I say. I don't know what agreement going. Do you think voters are going to take it seriously? Do you think Democrats really believe voters are going to take it seriously? Also, what do you think about the push to get Biden to resign and make Kamala Harris president for 2 months? Yeah, I've nothing doing on either one of them. Even Polly Market's giving Biden 95% chance of filling out his term. No, I mean, Biden he's just a figurehead at this point. You don't need anybody. And they're not going to reward Kamala. I mean, Kamala, she threatened him with the 25th. She and Obama and Pelosi. You saw how Jill, the cold shoulder that she gave to Kamala at the Veterans Day festivities. I mean, that was as compared to all the old smiles she had when she was around Trump. She's the Bidens have no love for Kamala. They're not going to do anything to help her. As for the Elon Musk interfering in the election, that's going nowhere. John, Dr. Steve, you appear very confident that Matt Gaetz will be confirmed, but I'm starting to hear some weak-kneed Republican senators like Murkowski and Collins suggesting they will not support him. Your thoughts? Yeah, it's called recess appointment. They don't need her. They know they're not getting Murkowski. They know they're not getting Collins. They know that. They're not stupid. They know that. But they also know this is part of the agreement of letting John Thune become Senate leader, that he was going to allow for recess appointments. So if it's clear that Matt Gaetz does not have enough Republican senator support, you get these weak-kneed rhinos doing what establishment rhinos do because they've been bought and paid for. No problem. Then you just call recess and you appoint Gaetz that way. It's easy. He's, again, barring just like a total collapse in his political viability, I just don't see it. And again, most people don't. They don't believe the weaponized legalism anymore. They just don't. They don't believe the politics of character assassination. Mark, what does Congress mean by a shadow cabinet? All right, so this is Democrats, ironically. Democrats are borrowing from the British system. So when you're in the minority in the British parliamentary system, you put together kind of a mock cabinet. You put together a small coalition of leaders in all the various departments to give an as-if, to give a response, to say, well, if we were in charge of HHS, if we were in charge of the Interior, if we were in charge of the DOJ, if we were in charge, here's what we would do. Here's our response. So that's what's known as the shadow cabinet. It's got absolutely no power whatsoever, none, zippo. But many were accusing Trump of running a shadow cabinet for the last 4 years because basically red state Republican leaders didn't do anything without conferring with him. And he pushed for these election integrity measures in Arizona and Georgia, and Virginia, of course, with Glenn Youngkin. And so the argument was basically he was functioning as the default president, far more than Biden, with these red state governors and legislatures and the like, and even giving. They tried to pin the failure of the border bill that would have given amnesty to 2 million migrants. The Democrats tried to pin that on Trump and his shadow presidency, where he was telling Republicans don't do that, and they said yes sir, yes sir. It's sort of a rip off on that, but it's completely lame and has no merit to it whatsoever. And it's just a proposal that one rep made on the floor. Me vida loca, Dr. Steve. Do you see Carrie Lake in Trump's cabinet, and if so, where? Well, some people are talking about press secretary. She'd be phenomenal since she's dealt with the media all her adult life. So she might be a possibility for that. Vaughn, Dr. Steve, are you a fan of Brett Weinstein's Dark Horse podcast? He rightly observes that the institutions kicked out the exact people uniquely talented to then replace them. That's right. He talks about the dream team. Is there a historic precedent for such a process? Yeah, there is. So yeah, I do like Brett Weinstein's Dark Horse podcast very much. I like Brett's work. He was a big RFK guy, and then RFK basically gave him the permission to vote for Trump. So he's one of us. So absolutely, he is my brother in arms, as it were. I think so. I think what we saw in the Soviet-dominated Czechoslovakia, with the work of Václav Benda and Václav Havel, what they called a parallel police, is very much akin to what Brett Weinstein is talking about, and that's where you just saw all the disaffected Czechoslovakians that had been in effect, rejected by the regime. They found a home in what Václav Havel, Václav Benda would call the parallel polis, which is very much like the parallel economy that we're building today. So just like what we saw with Elon Musk, or what we saw with Rumble, or what we saw with Peter Thiel and Trump himself, of people just getting Mike Lindell, people getting kicked out. You had a bit of that in the old Soviet era. You weren't playing the game the way you're supposed to play. You weren't ideologically faithful in the way you should be. So you get kicked out, and the parallel police gave people who are very engaged in society and politics a place to hang out. And so I think that would be something akin to it. Chip, I'm concerned about the rhino-infested Senate. Do you think Thune, my senator actually, will toe the line on nominations? I do not think recess appointments will survive SCOTUS. I believe they will. I don't know why you would say that, Chip, because it is constitutional, and again, it would take time before. I don't even know. I doubt the Supreme Court would get involved in it. We'll see. I doubt. But no, you got to deal with rhinos, and that's exactly why Trump's team was brilliant in making sure that Thune agreed to recess appointments, because it's that way they have leverage over the Murkowskis and the Collins and all the pathetic rhinos. Again, you're not going to out rhino a senator, right? But even Lindsey Graham is coming out and saying it. Even Lindsey Graham's coming out and saying, "Hey, look, it's his cabinet. I voted for Merrick Garland. I'm going to vote for Matt Gaetz. What's the problem?" So I don't think you have to worry about it too much. Tyler, Dr. Steve, when do you think the Doge will get to work and tackle the out-of-control, frankly ridiculous and wasteful spending that's going on? We need that to be stopped ASAP. Don't think we can wait another 36 days. Unfortunately, Tyler, I think you have to, since they are part of Trump's advisors. And so they will not have power until the one to whom they are advising is sworn in. So, but I think we're okay. I mean, we're already seeing the market go up. Take a look at Bitcoin. It's through the roof. We're seeing prices for oil going down. Big Pharma's imploding with the word of RFK. I mean, golden era, man. It's already starting. Paul, how's this for a new tagline? Here to butter the popcorn while we watch Rome burn. I love it, Paul. Here to butter the popcorn. They may take that too much, like too civilizationally. The liberal Rome burn, the woke Rome burn. I love it. That's great. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, how can RFK Jr. as Secretary of HHS go after the drug companies, get rid of all the bureaucrats in the FDA, and get the poisons out of our food and Big Pharma when he's got that entire bureaucracy below him? Great question. We'll have to see what his plans are at dismantling. Again, when we're talking about dismantling the administrative state, it's at every level in every department. This is what, you probably heard that clip from Van Jones when he said, our society has it. We have healthy kids because we have columns and pillars in our society. Those are your public institutions. Somebody needs to explain to Van Jones the public institutions have been radically delegitimized. And as Scott Jennings was trying to explain to the panel, it didn't get delegitimized because of disinformation. It got delegitimized because a bunch of woke lunatics took them over. That's why. That's why it got delegitimized. So they're going to have to dismantle the administrative state at every department and in every department and at every level. How they're going to do that? Very good question. I don't know. Well, I'll try to do some research and find out what their strategies are for dismantling a massive and intricate bureaucracy. Joshua, is this Trump's way of getting in new MAGA blood, making picks from the Senate and House? It could be. So one of the issues about like appointing Marco Rubio is now we may indeed get Lara Trump as a senator from Florida, which I'm very worried about because she has been doing such a bang-up job at the RNC. But given that Mike Whatley's there, I'm sure as co-chair she will be replaced with somebody as equally competent. But she was so brilliant, and I just love what she did with the RNC. So it would be like making Scott Pressler a state representative or something. I'd love for Scott to represent us, but we need Scott to start turning New Jersey red and New York red and Minnesota red and the like. So, yeah. So yes, I do. I think that's part of it. I think part of it is clearing way to bring in more Trump loyalists. That could be. It's certainly in the Florida Senate seat. BMC just connected some dots here we should be aware of. FEMA international neglect and harm in Lahaina, Hawaii fires, North Carolina floods, Florida avoidance of Trump homes. Jamie Raskin saying up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified, and then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions. And now 350 FEMA semi-trailers moving to Escoda Airport, Michigan in preparation for some future national emergency. Any thoughts? I think you're a doomer. I do, BMC. I got to just tell you, you're a doomer, man. Just you're how do you doom when they're melting down like this? I just have no clue. It's not like what you're saying is wrong. It's just like, I think it melts. At this point, I think it's melting in light of what just dawned, in light of what you did on November 5th. So those are my thoughts. You guys probably figure this out. I don't put a lot of stock in this stuff. Yes, woke institutions are going to fulfill their job description. Yes, a woke FEMA is going to bypass houses with Trump signs. Yes, that's what they're going to do. But they're getting caught. That's the beauty of it. They're getting caught. They're getting exposed. And we beat them to a pulp. We beat them worse than they've ever been beaten before on November 5th. And now, as Tucker would say, now daddy's coming home. Now they're going to get theirs. But all this, Jamie Raskin is going to stand in the way of the... Yeah, right. I'll believe it when I see it. Joan, exactly where is AOC getting the Tulsi is globally pro-war? From her own delusions. That's from her own delusional, lunatic, woke, fabricated world. Micah said, yeah, guys, next, please. Micah said, because she can actually shoot a gun. That's a good point. Rock Dog, Dr. Steve, how can President Trump ensure that another leftist anti-American administration can't shut down our oil industry again? Does he have the permits issued for 100 years or something else along those lines? Good question. I don't know how. I mean, it's clear, as Elon was saying last night, and as Vivek has been saying, it's clear they see November 5th as a revolution. We often talk about the Reagan Revolution, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I think the people gave him a revolution, but he didn't change the fundamental structure of government. He didn't change the bureaucracy. He dealt with a Democrat Congress the entire time. He had a few years with a Republican Senate, but he dealt with a Republican Congress the entire time. He didn't change Washington. And so then that enabled, neither did Newt Gingrich. Yeah, this is what I mean. We'll give you tax cuts. we'll pass these 10 items of legislation in the first 100 days. I mean, it worked. It was good. It was gimmicky. But that's not the world we're living. We are living under a communist Marxist revolution. These guys are nuts. They're insane. They're lunatics who are running this. The columns and pillars, as Van Jones would so ignorantly refer to them as. They've completely lost legitimacy. So this is a time to dismantle them, reawaken a new set of public institutions, revitalize public institutions that are MAGA to the core. So we'll have to see how he can do that. Part of it, too, is to make sure we permanently flip through voter registration the 7 swing states so as to turn a new 6 as the new swing. Maine, New Hampshire, New Jersey, Virginia, Minnesota, and New Mexico. If we can do that, then we'll permanently push them out of power, at least from the executive level. Franz, good morning, Dr. Steve. With all the political maneuverings going on, would you be willing to trade John Thune as Senate Majority Leader in exchange for the confirmation of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General? I'm trying to understand, in exchange for would you be willing to trade John Thune as Senate Majority Leader in exchange? I'm not quite understanding what you mean, Franz. In exchange for the confirmation. What? Yeah, I mean, well, just the only way I understand it is I think John Thune, before he was confirmed, knew that Matt Gaetz was one of the nominees. Or at least he knew that there were going to be nominees that were going to blow the gasket of the establishment, and that they needed to have provisions to be able to appoint them if enough rhinos surfaced and listened to the Murdoch network and Trey Gowdy and, with Karl Rove with a bad haircut nonsense that he's spewing out, or reading their National Review. He needed to have recourse, another way of confirming him, and I think John Thune is giving it to him. Steve, Dr. Steve, do you believe, like I do, that misinformation, disinformation today is truth tomorrow? I love it. Yeah. So bottom line, misinformation, disinformation is anything that goes against the approved narrative of the establishment. That's why it doesn't matter what you're turning into, ABC, NBC, CBS, doesn't matter what you're reading, the New York Times, Washington Post, or what we may be seeing something new there. We'll have to see, particularly at the LA Times. Or if you're tuning into CNN or MSNBC, it's all the same talking points. Nobody buys it anymore. And it's all fed to them by the regime. And the regime's it's probably New York Times or AP. They write it up. It's approved. Bureaucrats and billionaires kind of link up there, and then they send it out to the rest of us. Mark of the Roses, seems like Soros family is working to retrench their U.S. interference interests with Soros's org, paring down their EU interference, defunding EU interests, any chance of expelling Soros family from the U.S. in the near term. How can we get this done? Good question. I don't know how you would get it done. Elon Musk certainly despises him. He hates him. And but George and Alex, they do seem to be coming on hard times. I did a video yesterday on the vast majority of all their DAs lost on Tuesday. They're radical DAs, and the super majority that have been appointed since 2022 are gone. So they don't have much influence anymore in Europe, as you rightly pointed out. They've largely shut down operations there. I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go with this right now. I don't think the Democrats know where they're going with anything at this point. Dan, can Mayorkas be legally implicated in Laken Riley and other murders by illegal aliens? That'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I doubt it, but he can be held responsible in some way, shape, or form. I mean, they're already talking about holding Jack Smith responsible, that there's no way that they can have this kind of lawfare disrupt the legitimacy of our legal institutions without repercussion. So, Mark the Rose, anything that people can do to help MSM mainstream media out the door? You're doing it already, man. You're checking out independent content creators. That's all you got to do, because we have to earn your trust. We don't get to hide behind the moniker of CNN or MSNBC or Fox even. We have to earn your trust each and every day. So, Griselda, I've been with you from day one. I want to thank you for the good, the bad, and now the golden age. You have helped me and my family stay sane. Thank you. Thank you, Griselda. God bless you. Thank you so much. Movie Dog, since the media kept asking him, I wonder if President Trump accepted the presidential result. LOL. I think so too. Hilarious. Guys, I'm actually going to have to go. I have a bit of a hard stop at 12:45. Yeah, so we'll need to stop there. Guys, I love you. Keep going, rocking. The golden age is just starting. And I'll see you guys all on Monday and our Monday night live stream. God bless.
Hello. Our story begins inside of Mos Espa. Legendary gunslinger Django Fett was lazily wandering around the town, looking at shops and different cantinas. He'd already had a couple shots, after a bounty hunter paid for a shot for helping with a bounty out on Ord Mantell. Jabba paid big for that specific catch, so Django was getting a little extra bit of the love. The dusty streets of the city were certainly something. As Django was popping by food stands to look for some good food, he got distracted by something. His eyes twisted around as there seemed to be something going on, until one of the vendors on the street stopped him, shoving an already open hologram into his face. Lego is pretty cool, don't you think? You know what else is pretty cool? Light kits to bring your Lego sets to life. As can be seen here, the Tantive 4 looks like it's straight out of the hit Star Wars movie, Star Wars.
Some power converters!
This awesome light kit here comes from Light My Bricks, a fantastic company that helps you bring your Lego sets to life. There are two ways to approach adding your Light My Bricks lights. You can add them as you're building your brand new set, or you can add them to an already finished set. It doesn't take more than 25 minutes and the results are stunning. Wow, look at that glow. Light My Bricks has the thinnest cords in the game with their latest version of sets. This makes sure your build doesn't have protruding wires while also bringing it to life. Use my code PPSW15, which will be active until November 14th, to get 15% off on your purchases. Special thanks to Light My Bricks for sponsoring today's video. The Mandalorian bounty hunter moved past the man and then stopped when he heard a commotion. He sauntered over and looked in. Maybe it wasn't his business, but based off the high-pitched voice, someone's grunt was picking on a kid. Django, as a bounty hunter, was very content with letting people slide doing atrocious things. Sometimes it could be as harsh as an execution, but he had a couple lines that he refused to cross, and in his own opinion, picking on a kid was one of them. He stepped over with his helmet on and gazed down at a little kid holding a small mechanical piece. The grunt shoved the boy back. It was a blue Twi'lek, and he seemed pretty pissed. Django's firm voice rolled over the man's back and towards the kid, asking what all this bickering was for. The grunt turned back and told the cosplayer to eat it. This didn't concern him. This obviously wasn't the first time such an insult was thrown his way, because Mandalorians with traditional armor weren't common to see around the galaxy these days. Django walked up towards the grunt and lowered his head, and asked him if he would mind explaining the situation kindly. The Twi'lek laid his paw on Django's armor, and Django still didn't respond. He just looked at him. The man said that this kid has been seen here stripping parts we could build a pod racer. The man twisted around as if to backhand the boy, and as he moved his arm, it was snatched firmly by Django's hand, who twisted his head and very sternly said, The man got clobbered in the jaw and flew into the trash behind him. He wasn't unconscious either. He shook himself off and told the Mando scum that slaves did not have a right to race, a right to steal, and they might as well not have a right to think. Django gripped the man by the throat and told him that those same thoughts could very easily fit the description of himself, before whacking the man once more and knocking him out cold. Django turned back and told the kid he was free to go, and turned around and started walking away. In a funny way, Django stepped like there was a hitch in his armor, but he was simply lost in the sauce, feeling a little vibrant. Anakin followed the Mandalorian bounty hunter around like a shadow, and funnily enough, Django didn't notice until he stopped to get a snack and jumped back. Anakin actually startled him. The bounty hunter took his helmet off and asked the kid what he wanted. Did he want credits or something? Anakin shook his head. He just wanted to know more about him. Not just anyone would stand up for a slave. Django's eyes rolled around in his head as he searched for an answer. He wasn't sozzled. Well, just a little. What was Anakin saying again? His head shifted back and forth, and then he got a food on a stick before dropping a credit or two on the counter. He looked down at Anakin and asked him, what did he say again? Anakin laughed a little, wondering aloud about why a bounty hunter would save a slave when there was nothing to profit from it. Django just tilted his head with a little confusion as he watched Anakin walk off into the crowd. What a funny little guy, he thought to himself, as he walked away and into the hangar bay where Slave 1 was landed. The bay doors were open, and he tossed his helmet onto a rack and settled in, munching on his little food stick and falling asleep with half of an eaten meal on his chest. Luckily, it wasn't on top of the Mandalorian armor. When Django woke up, he slipped back and forth around the bay of the ship and found the bathroom to wash his face. As he washed off his clothes and put on a new pair, he was confronted by the hangar operator, asking for the credits for the night's stay, and he tossed a couple credits at them. Django's head was pulsating. What a trip. He didn't understand why he was so loopy. He prepared to leave again to get some more food, considering the pay for the hangar lasted until the end of the evening. As he was getting ready to leave, he remembered that he had a little weird interaction with a slave child yesterday. Some of it was blurry. Maybe he was a little more sozzled than he liked to admit. He walked out into the hangar, and as he left, he was confronted by 3 or 4 individuals. With them was a Twi'lek from the day before. But he didn't really remember that either. The grunts tried to tell Django that he was in big trouble, and each of them were left with broken bones in their faces as he walked away to get some sobering food. Django found himself inside of a local cantina on the weekend. It was packed, and as he was standing there, a little voice called out to him, and he turned over, seeing the kid from the day before. What are the odds? Anakin asked how he was doing, and Django just shrugged, as Anakin insisted that he join them for brunch. Django followed suit and sat with Shmi and Anakin, who were on the same side of the booth. Initially, the conversation was stiff, partly because Django was still unalive from the previous day. He must have slept a good 18 or so hours. He was exhausted, probably why the shots went straight through him. Regardless, he learned that these two were slaves, and Anakin properly thanked Django for saving him yesterday. The bounty hunter didn't think much of it. He was actually pretty happy with this little deal here. They were kind to him, and they enjoyed a nice brunch inside of the cantina. Some of the best food and most espa for the locals. Someone like Django happened to stroll in here, but this location was typically frequented by the locals of the town, not by outsiders. It was nice though. They talked about life, he told them stories, gave Anakin antidotes, and it was a much cooler environment for Django. See, the life of a bounty hunter was often filled with barbaric stories, harassment which Django never partook in and even was disgusted by, and loudmouths taking shots at each other. Truthfully, which Django didn't know, most of these hotheads acted like that because they wanted Django's approval. Sometimes he'd get a laugh in, but most times, especially when the foolish ghouls were harassing people, he'd bust their heads into the tables and whatnot. He didn't appreciate the behavior. So being with Anakin and Shmi was nice because they could have a deeper conversation that wasn't so surface level. Django did feel a sense of shame for them, because he wasn't the biggest advocate for slavery. He couldn't say much because he had transported slaves for a job or two, but still, he felt some sense of pity or shame that they were stuck in their predicament. He would leave Tatooine and go see the galaxy, and they wouldn't. After today, it was back to the slave works. This was an odd occasion for them anyways. Watto didn't give them credits to be slaves, but sometimes he'd give them a credit or two, and Shmi always saved it so Anakin could be taken out for a nice lunch whenever they had a chance, and this was that. The conversation moved on long past their food, and even into the hours beyond the kitchen closing in the early afternoon before supper started. They just had a good time, and Django enjoyed the simplicity of talking with others that weren't trying to suck up to him. He was a simple man, trying to make his way around the galaxy with ease. He had just been given a huge payment from Damask Holdings to do a big-time job for some type of army, and while there was a promise of an extra incentive there, truthfully, having considered things, he liked the idea of this little group here. However, there was something he was concerned about. He understood the vulnerability of being placed into this predicament. Shmi and Anakin would lose everything if he bought them, because they were slaves from the hovel, and they weren't allowed to keep their stuff, and they'd be forced to move out. It incentivized individuals to remain slaves because it was better for them or something. Regardless, Django didn't want Shmi or Anakin to feel pressured to be his friends, and he did mean friends by the simplest of terms. Anakin's excitement was inspiration for his mind, and Shmi's calmness was warmth for his soul. So as they were talking, he threw it out in the air and it lingered. Shmi and Anakin looked to each other to confirm what they thought they had heard, and Jango felt like he had made a mistake, though he hadn't. The two of them were just surprised. Shmi was understandably standoffish about this, because they had just met Jango. What if he was going to use them, or expose them, or who knows what else? She didn't want Anakin's life to get worse. Jango explained the miniature plan he had just concocted in his mind, because he did actually want a family for a long time, but it was hard to have one when you're a bounty hunter. You can't just do that with the rapid needs of such a job. So he offered it to them and said that there was a location at Seleucami where he could give them refuge and he wouldn't bother them, even if they didn't want much to do with him. Jango, in a way, felt like he was digging himself a hole, because it kind of was. He spoke on a whim and surprised even himself that he had. He was just trying to make the best of the situation at the moment. He told them that on Seleucami they could live and start a new life, one that could or could not involve him as a friend. At the end of the day, Jango just wanted real friends, and he felt like this was the first step to doing it. He did want a kid, and cloning himself to have one was an easy way of obtaining that. But even in his own mind, having a kid wasn't so he could force them to be the exact replica of himself. Having a child is to guide a young individual who was completely unique as a human being, one that did not have to bend or break to their parents' rules or lifestyle, and let them grow. He could see that possibility here with Anakin. Shmi asked that they have a moment to talk, so he gave it, and when the time came, they accepted, though they would like to see the location first and have more than his word that they would be protected there, and that this wasn't some type of trap, because traps like this did exist, where richer bounty hunters played off the desperation of others, and used it to their own benefit. Jango had killed many individuals like that in his life, but he gave the evidence and the two of them accepted. It would take hours of negotiating and threatening to light Watto's wings on fire for Jango to seal the deal. And because he wanted to ensure Anakin and Shmi weren't being taken advantage of, he snuck C-3PO into the Slave 1 and used a hyperlock on the bottom of the ship just below the engines to attach the pod racer, so Anakin could continue to build it. The ride to Seleucami was quiet, mostly because Jango didn't have a ton of blankets and space was really cold, especially for people from Tatooine. But they eventually got there. It was a small home just outside of a village. There were electrified fences around the home, and there was room for Anakin's pod racer, which Jango placed there. Shmi asked why he had this place, and he told her the honest truth, expressing that if he ever found someone he ever truly cared about, he'd bring them here, and he just never did. He then expressed that this home was theirs. He didn't want anything from them other than their friendship. In a way, it felt like he had sold himself out, and he kinda did, but he believed that this was the right decision to make. Then, after all of it, he just left. Truthfully, he was just as confused as they were. Maybe it was the first time he had a normal human interaction pretty much in his entire life. Maybe it was the hangover talking. Maybe he was desperately in need of a true friendship. He didn't really know. He did cancel the order for his personal clone for himself, which the Kaminoans didn't care. They would still make Alpha and Omega for their own good. Jango sat inside Slave 1 outside of Seleucami for a couple hours, just looking off into space and thinking to himself. He had plenty of credits, he just didn't know what to do with them, and so he bought some slaves. Okay, makes sense. Not really. But he sat and thought about it. Growing up on Concord Dawn as a Mandalorian foundling, he was trained to fight. There weren't too many real emotions shared aside from camaraderie. He killed hundreds as a Mandalorian, but eventually became a bounty hunter, one of the highest paid and most renowned in the galaxy, and that wasn't a squishy life. He believed that, in part to his hangover, some of his neglected emotions were realized when he saw that he didn't have to create a child from his own genetic template. He could have friends and family through a natural bond formed over time. Jango had absolutely no intention to fall in love with Shmi, seeing it as an offshoot of Stockholm Syndrome, but Skywalker, that could be a kid of his. That would just have to wait though, and it would simply depend on how the times changed. Who knew what would come next? All he knew is that there were people who were now grateful for him, not for doing a job or for killing someone or stealing something, but for being a decent person. The fulfillment that gave him.
I want to hear the Keith Olbermann rant. I really do. I want to hear this fucking nut job just fucking losing his fucking mind. This is gonna be fucking nuts.
Nomination or designate Beavis and Botox.
I want to get his reaction to the election. I think that will be fucking hilarious. About the future of this podcast. So I guess he's going out of business. How many days ago was the election? It was what day? All right, November 5th. So, about 8 days ago, right? Now, I really want to hear this fucking guy. Yeah, I know, dude. I have 666 cases, dude. I don't know what the fucking say about that, dude. It's been like that for 4 years. I have absolutely... I think they're fucking with me by doing that. It's been hard locked at that number, dude. For forever. Like, I don't know what to say. Hold on, I'm actually going to put that on X. I really think they're fucking with me. But by doing that. But anyway, I want to hear this guy bug the fuck out. So this has to be... all right, November 5th. It's about 10 days. So this definitely has to be the one where he has a meltdown. Oh my god. Oh god, I gotta see his fucking meltdown.
On the Wednesday Countdown podcast, Russia has committed an act of war against this nation. We were attacked last night. Regardless of the outcome of the presidential election, as certainly as if Russia had bombed and not merely threatened with a terrorist attack, 32 polling stations in one Georgia county, many in another Georgia county, between them the home of 1/4 of the entire black population of the state of Georgia, and also in the states of Pennsylvania.
What's this guy even talking about? I gotta see the meltdowns must be nuts. Hold on. I want to get his long... I want to get the long version of his meltdown.
Version of that, of course, is nobody ever went broke underestimating the intelligence, including of kids who were born here. People who today are fully and legally here will not be tomorrow.
and asked by the pollsters from Siena.
All right, I want to see this guy just bugging the fuck out.
On a special Friday edition of the Countdown podcast, we are missing the point of the nominations of Sideshow Bobby Kennedy and Beavis and Botox Matt Gaetz. This is not about Trump getting his own people and his own way. It is about Trump testing whether or not any Republican will stand up to him. What are the limits of the dictatorship Trump is already trying to unroll?
Oh my God, dude, where do these people come from? Could you imagine just somebody screaming buzzwords and cliches and never fucking even explaining what, where their information is coming from or something? You know what I mean?
Meet New Jersey, the ideal meeting destination. State-of-the-art conference centers, welcoming meeting spaces, diverse entertainment, top-of-the-line transportation, and the appeal of 130 miles of inviting shoreline, world-class dining, and endlessly flexible group.
Guys, we have it.
In New Jersey, of course. Conveniently accessible by car.
Hold on, guys. Guys. We have it. We have it. All right, guys, we're going to move our stream over to X. Okay. We're going to close out Overleaf for now.
Donald Trump has nominated...
We now have the cast vote record of Nevada for 2024. Okay. Oh, don't tell me they did this. Don't tell me they put this in JSON. No, they didn't do this, right? Please don't tell me they did this. All right, so yeah, guys, we're moving over to X, okay? Stream moving over to X, okay? I'm going to close this stream.